Eddie Van Halen cemented his legacy as one of rock's greatest guitar gods. Now his musical legacy lives on through his son Wolfgang. Van Halen fans know all about Wolfgang since he formed a part of the band's reunion in 2007. At the time, Wolfgang's addition to the band proved to be a controversial talking point, not only because he was only a teenager at the time, but also due to him replacing beloved bassist Michael Anthony. Regardless, it became a sight to behold as father, son, and uncle Alex played alongside each other on stage for many years. In October 2020, Eddie died at the age of 65. Wolfgang and his mother, Valerie Bertinelli, were by his side until the end, with Bertinelli revealing Eddie Van Halen's touching final words to them. Appearing on The Howard Stern Show in November 2020, Wolfgang confirmed that Van Halen as a band was no more, stating, "You can't have Van Halen without Eddie Van Halen." While Wolfgang's tenure with Van Halen might be in the rearview mirror, that doesn't mean he's disappeared from the limelight altogether. He has continued to play music and achieved several major musical milestones. On a personal front, he coped with his father's death and even took a walk down the aisle to marry his long-term girlfriend. So, with all that said, let's take a look at what Wolfgang's life has been like since Eddie Van Halen died. When people look back at what Eddie Van Halen's former bandmates said about him, you would be hard-pressed to find someone who adored the guitarist as much as his son Wolfgang. In various interviews, the musician showered praise on Eddie as both a father and world-renowned performer. In 2021, Wolfgang opened up to people about how he was affected by Eddie's death, referring to it as really tough. He said, "What really helps me keep going is my dad, because if I just gave up and stopped and crawled in a hole, which I feel like doing every day, I know he'd be really pissed off at me. He's the only thing that keeps me going." In 2023, Wolfgang told Classic Rock that he has had anxiety and depression since the early 2000s. He discussed how he's still working through a lot of that stuff today, and listed the various causes. In addition, he explained that even though he's pleased to have the Van Halen surname, he's often seen as just an extension of the name. Wolfgang revealed that he felt particularly anxious playing his first show with his solo band, Mammoth the in 2021. "I was sitting there in the little dressing room, going, I don't know if I can do this," he said. "I've found that the time that I'm most unable to control my anxiety is the first time I'm doing something. And that was a really, really, really big first." By the time of Eddie Van Halen's death, Wolfgang had played with Van Halen for 13 years. He also helped out musical friends such as Clint Lowry and Tremonti in different ways during this period. Needless to say, he was far from some fresh-faced newcomer who was still paying his dues in the music industry when he decided to go solo. Even before Eddie's passing, Wolfgang had started work on Mammoth the a venture where he wrote all the songs and played all the instruments that ended up becoming the 2021 eponymous album. Speaking to Overdrive in December 2022, Wolfgang explained how Eddie listened to a few of the tracks he was working on when he was still alive, and he considered having his father feature on the album. That said, Wolfgang always wanted it to be a solo project for himself. "This is just something for me," he said. "It's a sacred experience for me, it's my project, and an artistic outlet for me and my mental well-being. I'm so lucky that I have this incredible live band that just slays live, so I get to bring this creation to life on stage." Wolfgang compared Mammoth the to the way in which 9 Inch Nails operates. What some fans don't know about Trent Reznor is that he writes and records all the music as 9 Inch Nails, then recruits the necessary musicians for the live experience. After launching Mammoth the Wolfgang Van Halen hit the road in support of the debut album in 2021. Part of the tour included a slot supporting the legendary rock and roll group Guns N' Roses. One would think an event like this wouldn't faze Wolfgang since he was used to playing with Van Halen for so many years, but he told Consequence that it was a way to test himself on a different level. Read more, https://www.grunge.com/1749500/what-wolfgang-van-halen-life-like-since-Eddie-van-halen-died/.